Hello, welcome to April 25th, 2022. I'm Kurt. This is my daily good life meditation, my everyday reminder of my life objectives and principles, and check to see how I'm doing applying them. Not in good shape this morning. My sleep was, irrelevant. My day yesterday, irrelevant. My coming day, irrelevant. Not truly irrelevant, but I'm now kind of like a man boxer that's been bowled back by a blow, and staggering and stars before my eyes, and in danger of falling over from a heavy blow. And I wasn't even the person who received the blow. I was a witness. I am a witness. So here's what happened. One of my principles is I call it the horror show. And the idea of the horror show is that absolutely terrible, truly horror movie worthy things are happening all around us every day. Not only to us, but to our pets. It's not just happening within humans and our pets, but also in the wild. Just insane, terrible things. Now, I added this principle to the good life, not because I'm a horror fan. I'm not. Not because I'm a voyeur of some sort. I'm not. But because I wanted to keep that in my mind, so that I would have a ready and honest appreciation for the suffering that goes on, and be at the ready to do what I can and to prepare for my own. Because even when the horror isn't happening directly to you and me, it's coming. In some cases it may be very brief. In some cases it may linger. In some cases it may be seemingly mild. In some cases absolutely horrific. And so what happened this weekend was that I saw the news that one of my the people on Instagram who I follow, I think he and his son are actually TikTokers too, has been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and has 2, 3, at best 5 years to live. He's a relatively young man, just 34. He's got 3 children, 2 girls, 1 boy. I believe that all 3 of the kids, maybe the 1 girl is a little past 10, but I don't think any of them are teens. The 2 of them are under 10. He's married. He and his wife have a little home, and they have some fame. He and his son as the Enky Boys. That's what they call ENKY boys on Instagram and TikTok and elsewhere, I think. I enjoy their videos. They're wholesome, they're fun, they're clever, they're well made. But like I said, the dad's on the way out. And that's what set me back. I've been thinking about them. So what to do with the horror show? Well, of course we can help out. That's one thing we can do. But it doesn't necessarily, it abides the horror. Abide, is that the right word? It may mitigate in some way the horror. Maybe that's a better way to say it. It may relieve or even distract. But it doesn't help with the long term. I mean, the long term is that that's and not to mention the father who's going to reconcile death now. But the mother who's going to raise her kids without him in a hard world. So how do you deal with it? Well, the principle that I put just behind the horror show is, I call it that which must be borne. B-O-R-N-E, as in carried. And my intent in putting that there was to remind myself that sometimes there is no solution. There is simply the bearing of the fact. And maybe that's what it is. I mean, in the meantime, there is a GoFundMe, and there is a community. He's fortunate to have a large following, which will help out. But it won't make the horror go away, and it won't derail the train of family that will, go off the track soon, and leave a young mother with 3 kids to support somehow along the way, and a father who will face an seemingly untimely death, and the kids that will lose a loving father. I guess it is what must be born. And then I can maybe turn to the social principle, the reaching out, the coming together. Like I said, the GoFundMe that they set up. These are things that can be done. And then think about I have another principle, which is what is and what is not within my control. What is within my control is to respond in a helpful way. To respond to the circumstance in a helpful way. Contribute to whatever efforts can be made from my distant post to my help post. And then, so that is within my control. It's outside of my control to step in like a family member, or to fix the cancer. A whole host of things that are outside of my control. But then the other thing I can do is apply this experience to my own life. Make sure the proper screening is done. Make sure my house is in order. Make sure my relationships are in order. Okay. Well, that was tough. So, back to my usual business at hand. Didn't sleep so well last night. I woke up thinking about this situation. Other than that, it was a really good day yesterday. Had the day off. All our chores were done. Pretty much just read most of the day. I think I read over 50 pages. Spent time with the family. Chris, who was here over the weekend, was very busy doing his schoolwork. He and I had a really nice discussion up here, and he sat over there. I sat at my desk, and We talked about a whole strew of things, and then carried that conversation into the dinner time chat, which was fun to have that conversation, extend that conversation to Emily and my wife. It was a good weekend. I'm tired though. I could use another day off. But I'm not sick or anything like that, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay, it's very rare that I do that. Why is that a point of pride? Never mind, that's an irrelevant topic. Let's do the good life. You'll forgive me if I go fast. So 7 objectives. Number 1 is to always be ready to die. Boy, does that feel relevant and pertinent now. To have my affairs, my relationship, and my life's work in order. 2, to make good and effective use of time. That seems relevant too. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions. And then to perform good actions. And then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. And then to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly, deliberately, carefully. And strive to do it completely. I was struggling to get a last one in. It felt like the sentence was undone. Curious motivation. Excuse me. Okay, those are my 7 objectives. My 30 principles now are 1, the principle of war. To always be fighting against what I think is true. To uncover where its weaknesses are and find out where I'm not right. 2, reason and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt. To be a reasonable human being. Objective in my, I already said it, didn't I? I don't need to repeat it. Objective, honest, and a skeptic. Boy, this whole thing with that Enki boys, it really got me, got me tilted out of balance. Next comes the Homunculus, the reminder that though I don't have a soul, I do have a consciousness, at least for a little while. And then the Anchorhold, the suggestion that my consciousness it is trapped alone within me, and can never really touch or be with anyone else, because their consciousness is likewise trapped within them. And then after that comes the home of good and evil, a suggestion that right and wrong, good and evil, are mere opinions that we hold. They don't really exist outside of us. There's no absolute standard to abide. And then the principle of purpose. My purpose is to be a good father, and by extension a good husband. And then and that's deliberate, to put them in that order. And then to be a virtuous human being, where virtue is the pursuit of the well-being of thinking creatures. And then my pursuit of my art. Art isn't necessarily the right word. Mission, whatever mission I have in life. And then the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces. Excuse me. I'm not crying. I just have, very bad allergies lately. And then the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. It's good to recognize what that is. And then the pirate ride, the idea that free will is an illusion. And then maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. And then the social principle. Human beings need one another to survive. And then the public speaking, the reminder to be very careful in my communications, deliberate, steady, concise and to the point, and to never ever gossip. And then temperance, and the sub-principles of suffering and simplicity and apathy, to be very careful in my consumption of all things. And then after temperance comes the horror show, which I've already talked about. And then after the horror show is that which must be borne, which I also mentioned earlier, followed by the Feast of Offal, which is what we do when we visibly share our upset into the world. And I don't want to do that. I want to rather hold it in. I don't want to contaminate people with my upset. Likewise, I have to be on my guard for others who might want to do the same, to unburden their it's kind of like it's like a venting of sort. It's not a healthy thing, and it contaminates and soils others. And you have to be aware of that unnecessarily. And we do it willingly. We willingly consume it because it's interesting. It's a good distraction, which is the next principle, actually. The principle of distraction says that we spend a lot of our time doing things to just distract us from the emptiness of the universe, the apparent evidence that, or lack of evidence of any God or deity watching over things, the frightening idea that we're alone, and engaging in the Feast of Offal, witnessing someone else's offal, making popcorn and watching them suffer and blow up is a form of distraction. Not a good thing, not a healthy thing. So there's that. So distraction, agency, and the great indifference. Next comes the best seat in the house. Do not want to be anyone else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing now. Then the Path of Wildness, which is a way upward and forward into new life. And then the risk of avoiding risk, surface level risks of home, family, education, career, etc. And then the deep risk of attending to our, if you feel that question within about what's more, is there more to life? What's my purpose? Oh, not my purpose, that's not a good thing. What's my identity? We need to identify, or what else? It's almost like, it's not like you're finding something, it's like you're making something. Not finding yourself, but making yourself. If you feel a need to do that, it's good to attend to that young and early. Emiko and I had a really good conversation over breakfast yesterday about that. We talked about that. We went out to Panera Bread together and sat and had bagels together and coffee. Talked about that very topic. Good time. Good use of time. And then comes the next principle is sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my world view. These are falsity, being untrue, credulity, believing things too easily, faith, belief that is founded on belief, authority, belief that is founded on the seeming the office of, how do you say it? The office, the accoutrements, the authority, the charisma of some figure or an institution. Dogma, which is, for example, a Bible, for example, the Bible, the Torah, Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, that states a particular dogma. My own good life creed could be lumped into that too, if it's accepted with undue criticism and consideration. And then finally, gossip. And the consequence of all of these sins is damnation in the here and now. Then comes complete oblivion, the idea that there's nothing to follow after death. That death is its own end. End is no end. Wow, I like the sound of that. Next comes the great life adventure, one or more experiences that kind of forms the centerpiece of our life. And then the season of philosophy, time to record what we've learned along the way. Have the pen in hand and ready to write down whatever comes. And then the bullseye aim, striving to hit the bullseye but usually missing. Being all right with that, being expecting that actually. Sometimes missing by a lot. And then the uphill climb, steady upward trudge, arena and utility. Life is a steady upward trudge. And now I can see it a little more why maybe the Yankee boys went silent. I imagine once your health starts to go, that trudge stops. There's no more climbing. And then the arena and utility. Life is this forum to utilize our principles towards the objectives we've decided. And then nothing is enough. Reminder to try to get by with less. Then lastly, the last principle is the principle of fun. Reminder to have a good time. And it has two sub-principles of hope and retrospect. Looking forward and enjoying the looking forward, and then retrospect, the looking back, and a happy remembrance. And there you go. There's my good life creed for today. A rough day to get it out. It's going to be a rough day in general. As for the coming day, I've got a full day of work, and it's going to be a challenge to manage that day deliberately and ease and readily. Got a lot on my mind with this situation with the Yankee boys. Hit me harder than I thought. It sounds strange to say it that way, because I don't know these people. They're not quite like people on TV, because social media is different, but almost. Tired. Well, there's my good life for today. Time to get to it. Take care. Be safe, but not too safe.